our new video and it's our new overview. Sorry. It's our new overview. So it gives you a little bit of idea. We've got some celebrities that were on there in the room. You know, with acquisitions, there's always new laws and procedures that you have to follow, and things that, you know, you're seeking new ways to get what you need very quickly. And we think we have the answer for you. So we are located under the Department of Health and Human Services. We're in the National Institute of Health, and the NITAAC stands for the National Institute of Health Information Technology Acquisition Assessment Center. So as the video said, we're an OMB designated agent under the Klinger-Cohen Act, which was enacted back in 1996, and I hate to say I was in contracting at that time, and it was a big change. So we have 20 years of experience in providing IT solutions for our customers, for our government agencies. We fulfilled over $5 billion in orders for IT requirements last year. We have a lot of flexibility, and we'll go into each of the different contracts and let you know what they're all about. So what's great about our contracts? We provide IDIQ contracts, and each of our contract holders have been through a very grueling source selection already. They have been put through the ringer. So we only have the most qualified contract holders as our partners. We have open collaboration. Each of our contracts, we have a long-term relationship with our contract holders. They all have 10-year contracts. And collectively, between our 3 government-wide acquisition contracts, we feel that we can provide everything IT. So everything that you might need, we think you can buy it on one of our 3 vehicles. This is just a few of our customers. We've pretty much had well over 100 agencies use our contracts. So here's that other acronym, Government-Wide Acquisition Contracts. So what are they? They were born out of the Klinger-Cohen Act. They're task order and delivery orders designed specifically for information technology. Back when the Klinger-Cohen Act was enacted, it was because it was taking too long to get contracts in place for IT, and by the time you got your contract in place, the technology was already obsolete. So they developed this under the Klinger-Cohen Act so that it would streamline the federal acquisition process. So here's a couple things that are advantages to the GWACs versus your open market, your Fed Biz Ops. Under the Fed Biz Ops and open market, there's a lot of mandatory time frames. You have to issue a pre-solicitation notice. You have to leave it out for 30 days. You get a lot of protests. You have to have a formal source selection. Under the GWACs, you conduct the procurement under FAR Part 16505, which means that all you have to do is provide a fair opportunity for each of the contract holders, and we make that as easy as possible for our federal contracting professionals. You don't have any mandatory time frames, so if you have something, a procurement or a requirement that is not that complex, you can reduce the time frame to a significantly lower amount of time. I think right now the average contract solicitation time is an average of about 15 days. On our commodity solutions, it's much less. So things are being advertised significantly less, and with an average of about 45 days from when they issue the RFQ to award. So what do you think of that? I mean, in comparison to maybe 9 months or a year for an IT procurement. The other thing is that for civilian agencies, I know DOD is exempt from this, but the protest authority had expired on September 30th when we went into the continuing resolution. But it still is in effect for DOD, NASA, and the Coast Guard. But there are only specific things that you can have protested now. They can't. There's a lot of things that, in the open market they can protest anything, and under GWACs that's not the case. So as I mentioned, I think we can get you everything IT under our 3 GWACs. We talked about the scope of the protests. They can only protest that maybe you're not buying something IT under these contracts, so they can protest that. But the protest ceiling is 10 million. So anything under 10 million, which I know you all have very large procurement, so you probably don't procure more anything under 10 million. But only the scope, the period of performance, and if any of the contracts or the task orders that you're issuing are over 20 billion. I don't know. Do any of you have any task orders that would be over 20 billion? No? Okay. So I think you're safe. So we find that like 1% of the task orders are protested. So that's a pretty significantly low amount. So let's go into the advantages. So I talked about our contract holders. Our contract holders are highly qualified. They're a smaller group than a lot of the other big IDIQ government-wide acquisition contracts. And they've already been through a grueling evaluation. We also have significant staff that is available to help you through your procurements. We have a help desk that's available with subject matter experts, contracting officers, IT subject matter experts to help you through the acquisition process. They are fully competed contracts, so you're just trying to meet the requirements of fair opportunity at the task order level, and each contracting officer, whether it's your contracting office or our contracting officer, has full latitude to make those timeframes as short or as long as needed, depending on the complexity of the requirement. And on an average, you get about 3 or 5 good proposals. In open market procurements, a lot of times you get some stray ones and you're like, oh my gosh, this is just a capability statement, and so how do I throw this person out, so that I don't have to evaluate it. On our contracts, again, you're only going to get those that are truly qualified to do this. And you have that wide latitude on source selection. FAR Part 15, you don't have to follow that. You just need to follow fair opportunity, and using our system, we've established a system so that you meet the requirements of fair opportunity. We also have already pre-negotiated for the 10-year contract 137 labor categories. So we anticipate that your costs will be 10 to 15% lower than other vehicles, and we look at that as the starting point. And with the competition through fair opportunity, that the contract holders are going to give you even better pricing. So I've been talking about this system that we have to help you through fair opportunity. We call it EGOS. It's our electronic government ordering system. All our contract holders are in there. It's a market research tool. It's a mechanism to issue RFQs and put your opportunities out to our contract holders so that you are meeting fair opportunity. If you have an exception to fair opportunity, like there's only one source, or it's a logical follow-on, or you want to set it aside for small business, that is also within the system. The system walks you through that process. It's got federal acquisition regulation prompts. You know, are you looking for an exception? It will prompt you to put in your justification if that's the case. And even the novice contracting officer can walk through this process using our system. And I had talked about your contracting officers have full control over their task orders. They can add DFARS clauses. They can add special conditions at your level. At the task order level, they can add additional labor categories. Any subcontracting can happen at the task order level. So they have broad latitude to manage that task order in accordance with their agency procedures through closeout. We just provide support as they need it, but they can run the source selection any way they want. So let's talk about the GWACs specifically. So we talk about the CIO SB3, our Chief Information Officer Services and Partners 3. This is the third iteration. And we have two GWACs. They are the same in scope, but one is specifically set up for small business so that you can meet your socioeconomic goals of your agency. Each GWAC holder has a $20 billion ceiling. And if you feel that you're getting too close to the ceiling, or you're concerned that one of your task orders might go over that $20 billion, we'll work with you. Okay? So again, I had mentioned 137 labor categories that are already pre-negotiated. And as an EGOS user, you all can go in and you can do market research to see what those labor categories are. You can do commercial, you can do non-commercial, you can do cost reimbursable, you can do a hybrid, you can do time and materials, you can do fixed price, any type of contract at the task order level. And as I mentioned, the GWACs have a 10-year period of performance, but you can issue a task order on the last day of the contract with a 5-year period of performance. So we will support you for up to 15 years on this contract. On the unrestricted, we have an unrestricted, and we have 53 contract holders, which they're fully qualified again, the best of the best. And then on our small business, we have 94 contract holders and 5 socioeconomic groups. We have 10 task areas that make up the scope of the contract. On our unrestricted contract, they have all 10 task areas, all 53. On our small business, a good majority of our small businesses now have all 10 task areas. And I will tell you, we have the lowest fees of all the GWACs. So let's say that we did all set-asides at the GWAC level. So if you wanted to, you had to do an 8A set-aside, or you wanted to do an 8A set-aside, there's no need for you to go to the SBA and get a letter requesting it to be set aside. We've already done that at the GWAC level. So you can make direct awards to 8As at, I believe, up to $20 million on our contracts. So this is the CIO-CS, our Commodity Solutions contract, is one of our newest. It's in its second year. And again, we have 65 contract holders, which are original equipment manufacturers and value-added resellers. This is a commercial item contract. So it was awarded under FAR Part 12, so you have a lot of latitude to get everything IT under this one as well. It's more commodities and solutions based. So you know, we're pretty GWAC neutral. So in the event that you have something that's more dominated by services, we would probably push you to the SB3 models. But let's say you want to do cloud solutions. This is how you can do that. We have all the cloud providers on this contract through our value-added resellers, and we're hoping that this contract will be used more for, you know, the platforms as a service, the software as a service, and that we don't look at this as just a product-based contract. So we have 65 contract holders. Many of them are small businesses. And it gives you an idea of the types of services that are and commodity solutions you can obtain under this contract. I know this doesn't, we've got a lot of DoD folks, but we are actually in the civilian side, the Office of Management and Budget came out and said that they're doing a lot with category management. And we are very excited to be one of the preferred sources for laptops and desktops under their category management program. So we selected 26 of our CIO-CS contract holders to be our partners in providing the laptops and desktops. We have two different categories. We have the OMB compliant categories, and then we have Max tablets and ruggedized. We actually get a lot of usage from Navy on this under this program. So a lot of folks find that they don't have contracting officers, or they're short contracting officers, or they really need a contracting shop to help meet their program needs. So as an added bonus, we also provide assisted acquisitions. So everything that I've talked about up to now, we've talked about things how we can help your contracting professionals that work in your office or support you directly. Well, when you don't have those folks, we have the ability to lend our contracting officers to you, or to augment your contracting staff and provide contracting officers. We have a DoD leg and a civilian leg of our assisted acquisitions. We follow your agency procedures to make sure that we're in compliance with your agency procedures, and as we find that there's a shortage of 1102s in most contracting offices, we want to be the added value to your contracting folks and help ease that load. I don't know too many contracting officers that say, "Gosh, I'm really bored today. I don't have enough on my plate. So let me take on a little bit more." Most of them are overloaded, so we hope to be able to help with that. So I've broached on the electronic ecosystem. It's a great system. It's been built so that even the novice contracting officer or the program office, you don't really, it walks you through it so that you don't have to really we do provide training, but you could use it by just logging in and seeing how it works. And it will walk you through it. It's also a way it's a depository of everything that you do under the NITAAC vehicles. You're able to take your proposals, your RFQs, and you can zip drive them and you can save them, and they'll always be there. So if you want to copy something, you can go to an old one and you can copy it. You can use it for market research, as we mentioned. And here, this kind of tells you all you have to do is hit the Eagles login and on our website, and just go through a couple prompts, and within 5 minutes you're done, or you're in, I should say. One thing that we really strive for at the NITAAC is customer service. We have a help desk where everybody has to answer within an hour. So you will get you will get a response within an hour. We are on the East Coast, and we're only open till 6, except during September 30th. September we do stay open later so that we can support the people on the Pacific side. But again, think of it. You'll probably get an email in the middle of the night, and when you get into the office in the morning, somebody will have already responded to you. We're kind of like Nordstrom's. Even if you have a question that doesn't relate to our contracts, let's say we get questions about GSA all the time, and we try to get you to the right person and help you because we're all government. So in our goal with GSA and SOUP are to help everybody streamline the federal acquisition process. So we also have a team, our task order management team, that will review your statements of work. And even if you don't use our contract, they review statements of work and give you their expertise, their IT expertise on how they can help you. So we want to be known as the customer friendly, and we're not offended if you don't use our contracts. We'd like you to use our contracts, but we're not offended if you don't. So we believe that if you come to the NITAAC, we can meet all your needs. One thing that I didn't mention is under our CIO/CS contract, if you find that there's something new and improved that you're not sure that you want, or that it's on the contract, our contract holders can go ahead and add that within an hour. They can go ahead and propose on your solicitation and have it added at the same time. So there's no waiting period. There's no, oh, I'm sorry, that's open market, so we can't buy that for you. We also, if you have a letter from if you're a contractor and you have a letter from your CO and you do day-to-day support for under Part 51, we can also allow contract holders to use our vehicles as well if they do buying for the government under their contract. So I wanted to talk about two specific things because we find that fair opportunity, people aren't really sure what that means. All our contracting officers, I've been a contracting officer for well over 20 years, and I don't remember ever going to a class where they said, let's teach you about fair opportunity. I've heard where they teach you about FAR Part 15, and let's go in and do a negotiated procurement, and let's set up a formal source selection and source selection plans. But I don't remember anybody telling me how I could streamline the acquisition process. So that's one thing I'm really passionate about. So, we talked about the contracting officer had broad discretion. You don't have to set a competitive range. You don't have to have a formal source selection plan. You don't have to, follow the FAR Part 15 procurement rules. As long as you give everybody a fair opportunity, you should keep your submissions. You see these RFQs that are 50 pages long, and I want a 60-page proposal from you. Our contracting officers are already qualified, so let's give them a break and just ask them to submit what you really need to determine the best the best value or who's the best provider of the procurement. And really the only mandatory thing that you have to look at is the price. So you could say, give me a 10-page technical proposal of how you're going to do my work, and then we're going to compare all the different approaches and determine which one is the best. We're only going to talk to the most highly qualified. We're only going to negotiate with the most highly qualified. So you have a lot of flexibility with our contracts. There's also, with fair opportunity, you have, depending on what you're buying, you have different thresholds. So, if you have a government-wide contract purchase card, you can just go to whoever you want. Like, let's say you're buying a computer, you can just go to whoever you want and say, hey, I want to buy a computer. Under $150,000, you can go to the catalog. And you can say, I've reviewed the catalog, and I've determined that this one is the best. You don't have to go to each contract holder. And then as the dollar values go up, it gets a little bit more stringent. Over 5.5, you have to go to every contract holder. But the ecosystem already helps you go through that. So how many people buy or are interested in products? So products are a little bit different. This is something that I've asked a lot of contracting officers over my many years. Do you know what the non-manufacturer rule is? And they go, no. I know our contract holders know about it because they look at it and say, yep, I want to make sure that our contracting officers comply with the non-manufacturer rule. So the non-manufacturer rule, it's about competition and it's about set-asides. So there's a lot of information new information about non-manufacturer rule, where the Small Business Administration, CFR, does not match the FAR. Okay? And so you've got some, as a contracting officer, you have flexibility to whether you feel that you want to, it hasn't been implemented in the FAR yet, and whether you want to be the Wild West and go towards, you're covered under the CFR. And an example of this is the FAR says that under $25,000, you have to go you can go reseller to reseller, and that's considered competition. The CFR now is up at $150,000. And so if you're buying commodities or you're buying products, let's say you're buying laptops or something, you could conceivably set that aside for a small business if it's under $150,000. As a person that did small purchase for a long time, I think that's great because everything under $150,000 is set aside for small business anyway. And there aren't that many. I don't think Dell is a small business, and I don't think HP is a small business. And it's so hard to find laptops and desktops that meet that small business need. So being able to go the reseller to reseller is great. This just gives you an idea of what a non-manufacturer is. I think you guys kind of know who's like Dell and HP, using them as an example, are manufacturers. But the Small Business Administration says on some things, we know that there's nobody that is a small business that can do this. So then you can go back to the reseller to reseller. And they have waivers, and they're published on their website. So you can look under those NAICS codes, which NAICS codes are you guys familiar with NAICS codes? No? A NAICS code, it's a national industry, what is it, national industry acquisition industry code, and it's a 5-digit code that tells you kind of what commodity it is. It's like all the 335s are all your computer manufacturers. Your fours are your wholesalers. So, and then there's all your 571s are your services. Under those, you can see which ones are already waived. You know, like we know that there's not very many small businesses that sell Microsoft. So or that can compete with Microsoft. So there's already a waiver, I think, for that one. So that as long as you go reseller to reseller, you're meeting their requirements. And it's all about set-asides and competition. So there's been some recent GAO cases in regards to the non-manufacturer rule. So contracting officers have to they have to make sure they comply with that, or it can be protested. Okay, so and you know, traditionally service contracts, because they're not for products, they're not are not included, but GAO has taken a little bit more broad thought about that. Like for cloud solutions, is it a product or is it a service? And I think GAO has just said we're going to leave that up to the contracting officer. So, anybody have any questions? Are you all still awake? Any questions? No? Small group.
So where can I find your presentation?
On our website. We have, if you Google NITAAC, it'll actually come up. And our website, we just went through rebranding. You also have a list of all our contract holders. We do have literature at our booth as well. Our booth is at 907. We're at 907. And we have information. We have slickies that will give you lists of all our contract holders. If you're a contractor and looking for subcontracting possibilities as well, you can get to the our program managers and go ahead and contact them if you're looking for subcontracting possibilities. Andrea actually has some, she'll pass out some slickies so you don't even have to go to the booth, since we have such a large group. And if you have any questions, as I mentioned, we do have our help desk. The number is listed on there. You can email us. You can call us. We also set up training for your organizations where we'll come out and we'll do an hour, 2-hour training to pretty much the same presentation that I have here to tell you a little bit about our contracts. And we also, if you have a special requirement that you think you're trying to see if it will fit under one of our vehicles, we're more than happy to get on a conference call or come out for a meeting and see how we can, if it will fit under our vehicles and provide you with any expertise that we can. Mm-hmm.
So if you have say a much larger contract and your prime contract wants to buy computers and stuff like that, can you buy them under this and then give it to a GFE to save the fee? Like if you're going to spend 15% fee to a contractor, they're going to buy computers, you're going to spend 15% fee. So can you buy things like that and then GFE it to them?
You could. You could, if your contracting officer could do that. The other thing you can do is, if you have like a cost reimbursable contract, like you have your support contractor, and your contracting officer authorizes them to use government sources, we can also set them up where they can buy their laptops and desktops through our vehicles. Thank you for the plug. Any other questions? Oh, no, you can ask it. I don't see anybody stopping you here.
So it makes a lot of sense to me for the small dollar amounts. Like, can you give an example of something that's in the $100 million category?
We do huge cloud solutions on the CS. We've had some pretty, actually the average, I think the average order on the SP3 is, I think 60 million. And and that's on the small business, and on the larger ones, we're doing some huge ones. I'm sorry, I don't know what the average is on the unrestricted. But if you look at the contract holders that are on the unrestricted, you've got the Deloittes, the Northrop Grummans, all the major DoD contractors on there.
So it could be something like Paycom wants to get thin clients and they want to have cloud service to do that. Instead of trying to reach out, you guys just take care of it.
Yeah, or we can be your contracting office, or you can, if you have your own contracting office, they can just use our vehicle to get to those contractors as well. I mean, the flexibilities in using the contract, because it's already pre-competed, you've got the ability to use it to reduce those time frames, and all the FAR clauses and are already in there, so it just makes it easier for contracting officers to place the task orders.
Yeah, but it cuts down on the amount that you have to respond to, because it's only going to be the vendors that are on that contract you have to deal with.
I've been in an 18-month source selection before. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about cutting.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't bring up the ecosystem, but yeah, Andrea is our expert on the ecosystem, so she can if you come by our booth, she will give you a demonstration on how easily it works, and for contracting people, I mean it's great. You don't even how you can answer questions through it. It will. And you can work with your program offices. You can add your program offices to the list, so you don't even have to take it out of the system, send it by email, or send it by some other way to your program offices. They can just go right in and answer in the system. Any other questions?
I have a question. If you are federal, you can get some CLPs for attending our session today. So if you're federal, make sure that we have your email so that we can get your CLPs.
Well, thank you all for coming and sitting in the front.